we're set. So I'm just gonna start out just to ask you some questions about, you know, when you were diagnosed and stuff, and then we'll get into your questions. Okay. All right. So just tell me, Lynn, when you were diagnosed with cancer.
Let's go back a
Yes,
second.
please.
Do we want to introduce ourselves or not?
Why don't you? And then I don't know if we'll use it or not, but
Okay.
that'll be fine.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Mellentine.
And I'm Judy Mellentine.
I was diagnosed with cancer 6 years ago this month. It's a anniversary for me. I've been cancer free for 6 months.
No, that's not
I
right.
mean,
All right, that's all right. Start that over.
with our introduction.
Sure, why don't you just start it? That's something good.
Good morning. I'm Lynn
And
Mellentine,
I'm Judy Mellentine.
and I was diagnosed with cancer 6 years ago this month. It's my anniversary. I have been cancer free for 6 years.
Okay, and Lynn, tell us what was your cancer diagnosis?
My cancer was diagnosed after I had tremendous pain in my right hip, and being an avid golfer, I couldn't really golf very well. So I went into the doctor, thought it was a pinched nerve, so did the doctor. They sent me for an MRI to see where the nerve was being pinched, and then later Judy was gone. I got a phone call, and the doctor said, "Bad news. I think we discovered that you have bone cancer." So when Judy came home, I said, "Sit down. I got some bad news." And I told her, and her comment was, "Oh, I thought we were going to grow old together." After that, I started my treatments. 4 months, I was on a steroid and thalidomide. And after 4 months, I was cancer free, but the doctor told me I'd only be cancer free for about 18 months and then it would come back, unless I had a stem cell transplant.
Can you tip your glasses, your back, just a little bit? Not
Why
so
don't you
much.
take your glasses off? You don't really.
Well, I don't want to do it now. Is that better?
Just tip the back up. Did you do that?
Oh, the back up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then the glare will go away. That's better.
oh, okay. Now what?
Um, so tell me what it was like to go through your cancer treatment process.
In December of that year, I went in for a stem cell harvest and spent 3 days with a needle in one arm, needle in the other arm, and they took the blood out, ran it through a centrifuge, collected the stem cells, and then they froze them. And in January of the next year, I went in, and the first day they gave me very aggressive chemo, and the next day they put the stem cells in. And then I got really sick, and all my blood counts went way down, and I had to spend 3 months or 3 weeks in the hospital until all of my blood counts came back up. And it's very aggressive chemo, and I got sick, and Judy was there every day with me. Um, Most of the time I spent sleeping, but it was rather traumatic.
What was it like from an emotional standpoint for both of
You can answer
It,
that one.
it was very emotional. Back to when he was diagnosed, one of my first thoughts, well, one of our first thoughts that we both kind of voiced are, what are we going to tell, or how are we going to tell our girls? I mean, I think that was one of our first thoughts, just not wanting to have to tell them something as terrible as the fact that their father had cancer. And at that point, we didn't know what was going to happen. But I was at the hospital every day, and at that time I was knitting a prayer shawl, or crocheting a prayer shawl, and I don't remember which one it was, but whoever got it probably had some pretty powerful prayers, because I sat there and crocheted every day and most of the time he was sleeping. They did make him get up and walk around in the chemo or in the bone marrow transplant unit, and it was just a very quiet time. We were just usually the only two there. Our daughter in Menominee Falls came with her kids. Pastor Barbara couldn't come because at the time she was diagnosed with shingles, and there was no way she could come, but she kept in touch with us by phone. We kept in touch with the kids by phone, and had support from friends that called us.
And so many cards from people in the church and friends, and I still have a whole stack of cards that were sent to me when I was in the hospital. It was, you knew that a lot of people were pulling for you and praying for you. And once, you know, you get cancer, it's almost like, well, I wonder how long it's going to be before I die. And cancer isn't, you know, a death sentence.
Oh.
That was very good. Okay, well, what are some of the things that supported you through that time? You kind of touched on it, but can you repeat the question and then answer?
What are some of the things that supported me through that? After I got out of the hospital, after 3 weeks, I was supposed to spend 3 weeks to a month within 20 minutes of the hospital in case I got a cold or the flu, that we could get there. And our daughter lives in Menominee Falls, so we stayed there. Well, they had to prepare their house for me. I took over one of their son's bedrooms, the bathroom upstairs. No one else could use but me. They had to remove plants, and the support I got from them was great. And of course, Judy was always there, you know. And as I said, the cards and the letters, and people couldn't visit me. Even after a week, the doctor said, you know, you're good. You can go back to Fond du Lac. So I came back here, but I couldn't go anywhere, and no one could come to visit. But you knew that people were praying for you and people were pulling for you. It just the cards and the phone calls, and it was really great.
Next question. What are some of the things you wish people know or knew who are trying to be supportive and caring of someone that might be dealing with cancer?
The one thing...
I'm sorry, can you kind of repeat that question?
What?
Some things that people...
What are some things that people knew that...
Or you wish they would, you know, like some helpful advice for people that...
Okay.
If I have someone I love that has cancer, what's something that I should know, I guess?
What are some things that people should know if they want to support a person with cancer? I guess the main thing for me is when people hear that you have cancer, it's almost like they're embarrassed to talk about it. They're embarrassed to ask you a question. It's like, maybe if we don't say anything, it'll go away or whatever. I wish people, you know, if they have a question, would ask a question, because I think most people with cancer would be more than willing to tell them what happened to me, how I was treated. But people don't do that. You know, they're reluctant. I guess they're embarrassed. They feel funny about asking a person about cancer. And the other thing is that there have been so many advances in cancer right now that cancer is not a death sentence. I mean, we go to a conference every year, and there are 4 doctors there that make presentation, and the last doctor that makes the presentation tells about the clinical trials that are going on and the drugs that are coming online. And at some point, if my cancer does come back, I know that there are clinical trials that I can get on that will arrest my cancer and I can live a long life. You? Anything?
I think that's a pretty good summary of. There's lots of changes and lots of hope.
What are some of the challenges that continue today?
Well, I don't have an awful lot of challenges as far as the cancer is concerned because I'm not on any medication for cancer.
Never were on anything after your stem cell transplant.
No, but every 3 months I go to the cancer center here, and once a year I go down to Freighter. When I go to have my physicals, my blood pressure is about 116/78. Every time I go into the cancer center here, my blood pressure peaks to about 150/92. And there is always that unknown. Did it come back? Because they do a bunch of blood tests. And there's just that apprehension. When I go down to Freighter, they really put me through the mill. I get 16 x-rays every time I go down there, from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, and they want to see if there's any more bone lesions. It's funny I don't glow in the dark, but you know that. And the same thing happens there. Normally my blood pressure is low. When I go in, it spikes.
And that's just his personality. I don't have these same concerns because I don't see changes in him that would trigger something to let me think that there's something wrong. That's just the difference between our personalities. My glass is always half full, his is always half empty.
Well, I'm the one that had the cancer that was treated like that, so.
This isn't one of the questions, but can you share a little bit about your faith through this process and what role that played?
Well, like she said, all the while she's knitting, she's praying. I guess all of my waking moments, I was praying.
And the chaplain that was from Freighter came to see us
Yeah.
on a regular basis, and he knew that our minister couldn't be there. So he would stop in periodically and have a chat with us.
And
And then we also heard stories from the people that were there, that were out and about walking in the bone marrow transplant unit, and the things they'd gone through, and everyone had hope.
I am a firm believer that prayer really helps. If you've got one voice, it's heard. But if you've got a bunch of voices that are praying the same prayer, boy, it must make, some kind of a really good impression. Because, just by the number of cards and the people calling say, we're praying for you, your faith is stronger when something like this happens, because you see the results of prayer.
Good. That's all the questions I have. Do you have anything
Okay.
that you want to add?
I don't think so.
I think that was wonderful, you guys.
Well, thank you.